Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen. In the Bullpen today, I have president of Every Black Life Matters, Kevin McGary. Kevin, good day.
Dr. Richey, thank you for having me, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being on the show. All right, let's get into it. You are the founder of Every Black Life Matters, yes, president of that organization. Mm-hmm. And I was able to research some of your tweets and some of the things you retweeted, just to get an understanding of what you believe and do not believe. So let me ask you this, because I do not want to presume what you believe on this show. Do you believe critical race theory teaches black children to hate white children?
I think critical race theory in general is racist. I mean, whenever you teach that one race is to be demonized, criticized, and to be ostracized, irrespective of race, that's racism. And so when you do that, it's racist. And I think we should have learned some valuable lessons when we're told to focus in on content of character and not skin color.
Yeah, I think you should have learned what critical race theory actually is. What you just described is not critical race theory. So let me ask you first, maybe I should have started with that question. What is critical race theory?
Well, so it's an academic, point of view that's come out of the Frankfurt School, which started in the early 1900s. That was out of the Columbia University. It was critical theory that evolved into critical legal theory that then Derek Bell took and made critical race theory, and basically focused in on trying to have academics look at race as a sort of an area where to focus in on trying to, for lack of a better term, this is my term, level the playing field, if you will, and sort of level up with others. It's one of those amorphic terms, really, quite honestly. And so it's one of these things that it doesn't have a real good, in my opinion, definition, because
that's not true. That's not true. It's not morphic. It's only morphic.
Intellectual, why don't you tell us?
Yeah, so critical race theory is an advanced theoretical framework that really poses a question based on analysis. And the analysis de-emphasizes racist people. So while you may say critical race theory teaches black kids to hate white people, well, critical race theory does the exact opposite of that. It literally de-emphasizes individual racist people. And it looks at policies, institutions, and frameworks that were created in a racial bias to remedy the racial bias. Let me give you an example. Okay. The Declaration of Independence calls Native Americans savages. That's not acceptable in our terminology or phraseology about Native Americans today, but that was acceptable at one time in the formation of this country. The Constitution said that you and me, brother, are 3/5 of a person. You and me.
Do you really understand
that is? Okay. Hold on, sir. I understand it quite well. I'm happy to go back and forth with you about the Constitution on this show. The Constitution clearly said you and I are 3/5 of a person. Let's go to the 1930s.
But okay, go ahead.
Say that again.
I don't think you understand the 3/5 compromise, but okay, go ahead.
I understand the 3/5 compromise quite well, but I also understand that I'm more than 3/5 of a man. I'm a whole man. I hope you understand that too.
Oh, I do understand that.
Okay, all right, good. So let's go to the 1930s. In the 1930s, you literally had a government program that would draw district lines around black communities so that banks, private institutions could legally say we're not going to lend money to this particular geographical land site, but the government drew the lands based on race. That was in the 1930s. All of these are elements that critical race theory says we should analyze from an institution and systematic approach rather than an individual bias approach. That's all critical race theory teaches. And for you to suggest that critical race theory is somehow adversarial to the learning of our children, brother, critical race theory is an advanced theoretical framework. It's not even taught in K through 12 education. So where do you guys get this stuff from?
Come on, Dr. Richey. You're saying that it helps de-emphasize racism or racists.
Yeah, individual racist people, correct.
Well, which means then that fundamentally it focuses in on telling whites basically that you're racist. Does it?
No. It de-emphasizes, brother. You have to call a thing, brother.
Okay, so are you saying that all whites are racist? Just answer that for me.
Hell no. I got white people that work with me on this show. I have white friends. What are you talking about? All whites are racist. Who believes that, brother?
I think that most of your CRT adherents and proponents would believe that.
Let me tell you where you're wrong on that.
Most of your CRT adherents, or at least Kendi and D'Angelo, certainly are.
Okay. Can I tell you where you're wrong? Okay. So I've been teaching critical race theory at the university level for 5 years.
Okay.
The person who taught me is a guy who's been teaching critical race theory for damn near 20.
Okay.
He's not racist. Hold on, brother. Let me provide Dr. Chika Akua. He's not racist. There is not one professor who teaches critical race theory who has ever exhibited racism against white people. Not one that I'm aware of. Not one says that all white people are racist. So where are you getting your stuff from?
So here's what's interesting. You have a lot of people that are adherents or proponents of critical race theory that basically do attempt. Now maybe they have sort of monopolized or manipulated the movement, but they position themselves as champions of CRT. Okay, and Ibram X. Kendi, D'Angelo, Derek Bell, and others have basically positioned themselves as people who understand the theory, okay? These are people who have actually asserted one way or another that prejudice is perfectly okay, it's acceptable. It's an acceptable rationale to level the playing field by actually ostracizing, castigating, demonizing whiteness, canceling whiteness because of what happened with their ancestors in the 1800s. And here's what's interesting, Dr.
And let me respond to that when you can, because you're misguided.
Here, can I just make a point? I know this is your show, and you had great, entree. Can I just make a point? And I'd love to get your input on this.
Absolutely.
But you were so eloquent, you were so intellectual in your prose when you did your introduction here, and you went all the way back in history. But one of the things that's interesting about CRT is all of you guys, you mention about history and you mention about the early 1900s in this. When you talk about history though, you never talk about what happened in the 1800s and who were really the proponents of slavery. You never really speak about who elongated slavery. You never really speak about.
Well, brother, go ahead and talk about it. You have the opportunity right now. Go ahead.
Yeah. So who were those people? Who were those people that started and elongated and propagated slavery all those many years? Who were those?
Yeah, people who are. I will explain. I will explain, brother. People who were adversarial to the growth of my people. That's who they were. What's your next point?
Who was it? There was a particular faction, though, Dr. Richey.
Okay, brother. Tell me all of the elements involved. Go ahead, please.
Well, there were two elements. There was a pro-slavery element, and there was a abolitionist element. So who was the pro-slavery element? How come it's never mentioned?
Brother, what in the hell does that have to do with what we're talking about? Make your point, brother.
My point is all of the intellectuals, yourself included, never ever mention the party, the leftist progressive.
Oh, that's a damn lie. Democrats were racist as hell. Next.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, you got the wrong show for that, brother. Obviously, hold on, wait a minute.
Competent to be able to mention.
Obviously, you haven't done research on me, brother. Those Democrats and Dixiecrats, and people that consider themselves to be on the left were racist as hell, and in many ways just as racist as the conservatives they were demonized back then. They get no light with me. There was a time in Georgia, brother, listen to me. In Georgia, all of the lynching legislation was passed by white Democrats. There was a time. Now those Democrats were Dixiecrats and became Republicans later. And I can't fail to mention that 100%. Hold on, brother. I can't fail to mention that 100% of members of the KKK today are Republicans, Trump supporters, conservatives. Oh, you really think they're members of the KKK today who are supporting Kamala Harris, Joe Biden? Come on, man. If we're gonna be real, be all the way real.
When you consider anti-Semitism of the KKK, you really think that those are Republicans, bro?
Well, hold on, wait. The KKK endorsed Donald Trump. The Grand Master endorsed Donald Trump. What are you talking about?
Dr. Richey, I actually think that the KKK and white separatists actually transitioned when they realized that there was a growing Jewish vote.
Oh my God.
They actually transitioned their vote.
Are you saying that the KKK, who has endorsed Donald Trump twice, leaders, say that again?
Anti-Semitic, are they not?
Okay, brother, listen to my question. Listen to my question, brother. You have failed to answer my first question.
Okay,
let's keep some sensibility here. Are you saying that the KKK, the Ku Klux Klans, are no longer in support of Donald Trump and the white supremacists connected to the Trump movement? Is that what you're telling us on this show? They have changed their minds.
Quite honestly, I haven't followed the KKK, so I don't know, but I do know for a fact that they're anti-Jewish and anti-Semitic. I do know.
Of course they are.
Huh?
Of course they are.
And I do know that the Trump administration and a lot of the Republicans, all of the Republicans are pro-Jew. So with that, I do know that a lot of the KKK rejected the Trump administration, and that is a fact. So I don't know.
Hey man, their leadership endorsed your guy. They endorsed Donald. Well, the leadership of the KKK endorsed your guy. That's a fact. We don't have to argue an opinion over that. That's simply a fact.
I don't know about that.
Do your research when you get a moment. So let's go back to critical race theory.
All right.
Here's what I think has happened, brother. And I want you to think about this in the context of history.
Okay.
Critical race theory has been around bona fide since the 1970s. It's been discussed really since 1958. It became formalized in the 1970s. Okay. So in the 1970s, you had this academic theoretical framework. And this academic theoretical framework did one specific thing. It posed a question, and a legitimate question. It said, wait a minute, even if you get rid of all of the biased white people in America, for example, if everyone woke up tomorrow, brother, and you had only 1% of racist white people in America, you would still have inequity. You would still have unequal outcomes because partly due to the laws and how the institutions continue to operate, the inherent bias within the Constitution, laws that flow statutorily from the Constitution, language in the Declaration of Independence, institutional norms, the whole nine. And so critical race theory said, we now should stop asking the question about how do individual racist people hurt us, and let's ask the question, how have the institutions they created hurt us? What's wrong with that question?
It's not about the question. It's about the tactics. It's about the strategy. It's about the brainwashing. It's about the it's about the overall context.
Where is that happening? Where's brainwashing happening?
Especially in academia and especially in K-12. Now, remember,
where's that happening?
Well, hey, read. I mean, Joe Biden.
No, you tell me. You're on the show. Where is the brainwashing happening?
Let me tell you, Dr. Richey. Joe Biden said we should definitely put critical race theory on the table for K through 12 education.
That's brainwashing.
Multiple times, and he
says it can be a tool. Wait a minute. So because the president of the United States says it is a tool that educators should be able to access, you're saying that the president of the United States is engaged in brainwashing because he says this is a tool that they can in fact access if they choose to teach it.
And the NEA doubled down last week and says we will begin.
Defend. Go to court.
The National Education Association said
that's right.
We will begin to incorporate critical race theory, components of critical race theory within the curriculum for our public school system. That's what they say.
First of all, I want you to go back and I want you to read that article. What the agency has done is they have decided to defend any school teacher who teaches what they call accurate history. They have not even mentioned critical race theory because the president of the association will tell you very clearly that critical race theory is not taught in K through 12 education. That comes from the president of the agency. So when you conflate the president of the agency saying that they are now teaching critical race theory is adversarial to what she has said on the record. Here's another thing they've said. Here's another point, and I want you to respond. I give you time to respond. They have said that critical race theory has never been an issue. Brother, just think about it. And it makes sense. Go ahead, say it again.
You're hilarious, man.
Why am I hilarious? I'm telling you truth, brother. I'm telling you truth.
It doesn't even have to be an issue. If it's never even taught and it's not an issue, then why do we have to defend it at all?
You just made my damn point. Now, let me break down what's happening now. You just made my point for me. You don't even know it.
That's
Sir,
right.
All of the bills, every state legislature, Republican-led, that passed an anti-critical race theory law. Guess what they did not put in the law? Guess what wording is not in the statute? Critical race theory. So every state government that passed an anti-CRT law for K through 12 education did not put the terminology CRT or critical race theory inside of the statute. You know why? Because it's not taught in K through 12 education. So they can't say stop teaching something that wasn't taught in the first place. Brother, you need to do your research.
Okay, so just because they don't teach what is an academically formed thesis about at a college level CRT, it doesn't mean that you don't take the spirit of what is potentially,
okay, well, stop calling it critical race theory then.
Ideology and put it in a K through 12 frame so it could be absorbed at a child level. So that we're talking about.
Were you taught critical race theory in K through 12 education?
Excuse me?
Were you taught critical race theory in K through 12 education?
No, I wasn't, but I came up in the generations ago, man.
Okay, you got children?
Yeah.
They taught critical race theory in K through 12.
They came up in generations early, man.
Well, I got children that are in school right now.
Yeah.
They're not taught K through 12. In K through 12, they're not taught critical race theory. You know what? Nobody in K through 12 education is taught critical race theory. As I said before,
that's not true.
If they're
Washington School District, they are being taught that, and those kids are radicalized. We've actually had some recent studies out of the Portland and Washington State school districts that those kids are actually they're going out with Antifa in the evenings now because they're self-loathing. They're rejecting academic studies. They're going out and they're going out and on the streets with Antifa in the evenings. I mean, come on.
This is just okay. So we've established that's just silly as hell what you just said. We've established that critical race theory is actually not taught in K through 12 education, and so your beef is with the spirit of critical race theory. So let's be very clear.
Okay.
If it's not critical race theory being taught. Be man enough and woman enough, whoever you are, to say, we're not saying stop the teaching of critical race theory. We're saying, let's stop teaching the true racial history of America. Critical race theory is the false pretext used to create the context in order to stop the teaching of true racism in the United States and how institutions have contributed to the racism in the United States. That is what they want you to stop teaching in K through 12 education.
No, I don't think that's what the issue is. The issue is we don't want our children to be used as tools
What
to
year?
further a racist agenda.
Okay.
We don't want our kids to be brainwashed.
I'm almost out of time, brother. What year did school teachers start teaching critical race theory in K through 12? What year?
What year do they start?
What year did school teachers in K through 12 education start teaching critical race theory? What year did that happen?
Apparently, I think that the schools in the West Coast were the earliest years, and I think it started probably 3 to 5 years ago.
So that's incorrect. So let me give you where it actually started. The movement
they don't do it at all. You told me
the movement, right? And I'm about to make that point again. The movement against critical race theory came after Donald Trump made it a big evil and decided to create an executive order to eliminate the teaching of critical race theory inside of federal training programs meant to train federal workers and contractors on diversity in the workplace. Once Donald Trump said critical race theory was a great American evil, that is when all of you guys jumped on the bandwagon, even though the damn thing been around since 1958, it was formalized in 1970. It did not become a thing until Donald Trump said it was a thing.
Okay, so what year did it start? So it started.
It never started, brother. That's my point. School teachers don't teach it, damn it. They don't teach critical race theory in K through 12 education.
They started it in Portland and Washington.
Okay. All right, brother. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for being on the program. It was fun. All right, you have a good one.
Thank you.